When most developers do like a gameplay stream, it's just awful. It's like a cringy, over-the-top excitement, like, wow, this is so exciting, and it just comes across as really fake and really disingenuous. What's really important is you got to actually establish trust with gamers. When you see these dev streams and they just have no idea what they're doing, it really doesn't put a good image across.
People that watch those kind of streams or watch developer streams are usually the extremely clued in hardcore players that know exactly what they're seeing. So you're trying to show them things that they already probably understand 90% of what they're seeing. They're trying to see something new. I think the great streams are always when you have a community manager and a designer. Designer can usually fill in lots of information about like and they're usually quite eager to talk about what they've worked on and the minutiae of the gameplay details.
Do you think, Darren, that it's actually worth it for developers to put out streams themselves and invest the energy in that, because people on YouTube are doing it, right?
It's something I thought about as well. Like, is there any point of doing these live streams? It takes up a lot of time, but I do like watching developer live streams. Like I think Paradox do a really great job of that. They've got, like I said, community and developers on it, and sometimes their CEOs on their live streams. They always seem to know like what they're talking about. You can tell like their community manager or producers don't know as much, but that's why they usually have a developer on and they guide them through things, and they're usually a good back and forth. Paradox has been super successful with them. They have thousands of people watch their streams, even though their games maybe, like, I always compare it to Total War just because that's where I worked, but they used to do way better on their streams than we did on our streams in terms of viewership. And I was always confused, well, not confused, but it was always an interesting debate within our studio because we had way more sales. So it was kind of like, why can't we get as many people as they do? Like, what's going on? Like, we sell more than they do every game. So why are they so strong with their community team? I think it's because they have developers on. They know what they're talking about. It's very rare that I've ever seen them struggle, as you say.
I think that the Paradox community, they have this kind of cult quality to it, and not in a bad way necessarily, but they are people who are like massively engaged because they have played the game so much. And so the Paradox CEO, he also said that Paradox games are kind of like a lifestyle. I think the quote is, some people they go windsurfing and some people they go do something else. Well, some people play Paradox games, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of when you develop games for this kind of niche, people get so engaged because it's basically their lifestyle. And I don't think Stardock has that cult-like a community, and not Creative Assembly either.
Like, MOBAs are probably the best example of cult-like communities because you're investing thousands of hours and hundreds of dollars. So you get very like territorial when it's like, no. Dota is the best MOBA, and it's like they're both fine, but you want to feel like you're in this. Only I discovered the Master Race MOBA, and because if I didn't, that cognitive dissonance of I wasted 2,000 hours playing the wrong MOBA is too much.
Yeah, I think you should look at Paradox not as they have a community, but more as a company that acts as it is a society. You know, that it's not really that they manage the community; it's more that people live in this Paradox universe, you know. So it's fine for people to criticize, for example, Paradox games. It doesn't mean that they're not fans, because they still live in the Paradox universe, right? I think we'll see more of this also, that gamers are so invested in the games, and the companies especially, that the building of trust will be like the most important asset for a company, you know, that they can continually deliver new content that people trust.
Well, one of the first streams I saw with them was for their game Stellaris before it came out, and they had their AI programmer on it who's now the game director actually, and then they had a marketing manager or a community video person, I guess, and they just had such a good like back and forth, and they show their game pretty early. Like, they tell you there's going to be bugs, there's going to be, you know, all these problems and placeholder art. It's what they call hot code, and they're very used to showing that stuff off now. It was just so different to anything I'd seen, at least at that point. Typically, I'd never seen a company willing to show off bugs and issues just so they can explain features to people and then laugh about them. You know, at least in the culture that I was in, it was like, if you show a bug, like, we have to have a discussion about it afterwards and talk about like how that shouldn't ever happen again.
That's certainly something that I think has changed, is that more companies are willing to show footage earlier on, which I think is for the better. But I think that's also something that we've been doing pretty well at Stardock, is that we have people who know what they're doing stream. So I'll stream and I'll do a lot of YouTube videos for Ashes, whether it's like a shoutcast of multiple players, or whether it's me playing through a campaign mission, and then so you get the perspective of like, I made this mission, or you know, I have this high level understanding of the game because I'm a pretty competitive player of all RTS games, but of Ashes, of course. And I think people really appreciate those a lot more. And I know Brad, the CEO, he does streams for Galciv 3.
We have this humans versus the multiverse stream right now with Brad, and when Brad is playing, he's actually taking notes along the way on, I need a shortcut for this. So, you know, he's actually changing the game along the way.
Yeah, I think at least just from Creative Assembly and maybe some other AAA companies' perspectives, is where they feel maybe they've had a game or two in the past that's had a buggy launch or something. They might be still adverse to, you know, oh, if we show bugs, people might remember like how our game came out a bit buggy and we had to patch it a few times and stuff. But I think you're right, they are, you know, they might be the last ones to change now, but they are coming around, I think, where it's like, and a lot more companies, not just these two that I'm mentioning, are starting to show that stuff off, because they're just like, we want to feed the community like some interesting features, talk about the gameplay. You know that like there's some art missing or whatever, it's fine, like that's going to be there. And I think people are pretty can understand that, and no one's going to be.
But it's even a positive for people, you know, they feel involved.
Well, I think it goes back to building trust, like you guys were saying earlier. It's like, we're willing to show you this stuff early so that you can just see what the game is like, and it's just like an open conversation. It's like, yeah, it's a little bit early, and you know, we know what we're showing you and stuff. So I think it just goes back to the trust, and people react to that and see that it's a good thing, and that's why they want to watch.